The launch of a new Horizon is always a big event. Believe it or not, it's been almost half a decade since the launch of Forza Horizon 5, and the years following its launch were, to say the least, some of the most turbulent in series history. I've been very critical of this series in the past few years, and ever since my 2-hour-long review and critique of Horizon 5 back in 2023, I've distanced myself to come into the next Horizon with as fair and open a mind as possible, as this series has been a massive part of my life for over a decade now. And more than anything, I want to see that same love and magic poured into it in the modern day. It's 2026 now, and I've spent the last weeks playing Forza Horizon 6, and in almost every way, this is the most a Horizon game has hooked me in 10 years since Horizon 3. There's a lot of good here, and it does a lot to recover a lot of the community and listen to our cries for innovation and yearning for a rewarding Horizon experience again. But at the same time, carries forward some of the worst attributes of Forza in the modern day. It's a game that I'm so close to loving, and in an effort to explain just why Horizon 6 brings so much out of me, I want to dive into every aspect of Horizon 6 in my ultimate review of the revitalization of Horizon. And without further ado, folks, welcome to Horizon Japan. Well, they finally did it. They hit the panic button. And you know what? Horizon Japan is pretty drop-dead stunning. It's been a damn long time since I'd hop on a Horizon game just because I wanted to drive and explore every nook and cranny. Hell, I'm even catching myself going for the 100% road discovery, which I haven't done since Horizon 3. The main feeling I get from how Horizon Japan has been handled is that this feels so much more cohesive and full than honestly most maps in this series. It's not just larger for the sake of being larger, and then covered from top to bottom in empty fields to fill in empty space because of the Eliminator. That was my biggest problem with Horizon Mexico. Sure, the map wasn't all that big, and that's its own thing, but it was how poorly that space was utilized. I didn't really feel this way for most parts of Japan here. I'd noticed plenty to fill in empty areas such as lakes, small towns, convenience stores, scenic viewpoints. And you know, this is really in contention to be the most vertical Horizon map ever. The last word I would use to describe this game's world is flat. From just how many mountains there are, to the bridges that look downwards to the Tokyo skyline. I think this map is superb. I love the careful orchestration so that you can see Mount Fuji from so many spots all over. It's a great balance too, and it feels so much more authentic than its predecessor as it just doesn't go for having one thing and drop all of its cards on Tokyo. The wonderful balance of the largest city in a Horizon game by far, but also having the vast majority of the map focus on smaller regions of Japan. This is wonderful, and it's a great way to show everyone that, hey, Japan has so much more to it than the city life or the small suburbs. What's just as valuable to the country's beauty and character are the small fishing towns, the farming villages, spots not on a map. Now, each Horizon likes to have a certain structure in which to showcase its world. For Horizon 5, this was the biomes, which, I'll be honest, while great in in-engine cinematics, were hardly noticeable and different from each other in-game. For Horizon 6, it's less about that, but showing the beauty of individual regions. And God, it does that well. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Tokyo is great. You do get that magic feeling the city gives off, but not just through, hey, look how cool and urban this train passing through the city is, but through tight alleyways tucked away housing what would be Tokyo's hidden gems. Of course, you've got the famous landmarks like the Shibuya Crossing and Tokyo Tower. Daikoku is captured well and is a great spot for drifting or meeting up and having impromptu car meets. There's so much to talk about here that I haven't even mentioned, such as the expressway going through the heart of Tokyo, or how you can race a bullet train out of the city. But as I said earlier, what made me fall in love with this map is the areas outside of the city. The Nangan region is host to some of the greatest driving roads in the whole game. Tight switchbacks adorned by draping cherry blossoms. The loop bridge, which never gets old to drift down. And there is an entire rocket launch here. That's sick. The Ito region being one of my favorites. It's a smaller fishing town, but just past that, you get some of the best beaches in the whole game. Vibrant farmlands. And these tunnels, which are great for blasting through, or just taking a pause to take in the stunning lighting. Shimanoyama is a textbook Japanese small country town. Convenience stores that feel like the highlight of these rural spots, which feel like they're living in a different world to that of Tokyo, with their foggy, vintage town energy. I felt like I was transported back to Inaba in Persona 4, and yet when the sun comes out, you see the forest roads and the farmland that it connects to. The next one that I wanted to mention is the Otani region, and honestly, it's the only one in the game that I actively dislike. It mainly serves as the hub for the Horizon Festival, and God, it's really dull. A lot of the roads and scenery are empty and vacuous space, and look and feel straight out of Horizon 4 and 5, and not in a good way. The festival itself is gorgeous though, with the fireworks at night add a great bit of levity through the darkness. And hell, the festival is shaped like a circle again. That's a great throwback. Minamino is for nature lovers, flower fields, jaw-dropping forests, and a golf course which certainly resembles one from a Wii game on the PS2 some of you may remember. Hokobu and Takashiro are both very similar to each other. Deep into the countryside now with tea farms, a Japanese castle, the largest flower fields ever seen in this series, and more temples with a great waterfall. The last one that I specifically wanted to touch on was Satayama, and it gives a great shot from my favorite snowy region in Horizon. On the way up to it, you get roads that invoke the same energy as many of the Swiss Alps' greatest driving roads. And up top, you get a ski resort, villages, the snow-walled passage of Tateyama, which is as intimidating as it is captivating. And something that I truly appreciate is that if you bring supercars or unfitting rides up here into the snow, well, tough luck, man, you aren't getting anywhere. You do need to build a suitable car, which is something that I've been asking for ages now. I just wish they did the same for the rest of the dirt roads in this game. There are so many stunning viewpoints that I've found, and I'm still finding to this day, weeks after I first started playing. And it's a huge run-in for one of the very great maps in the series. And hell, the highway isn't even bland anymore. You'll be rewarded with mountains instead of vacant farmland like in 5. I've got so many notes like how off-roading actually feels like off-roading now, not just driving through empty fields. And how they finally brought back the lights at the drag strip. How no one noticed that on 5's entire lifespan just boggles my mind. But as much as I have so much good to say, it isn't absolutely irreproachable. Something that I've always felt about the last couple Horizons after 3 is that they've lost the magic of the sky. Okay, I sound crazy, but hear me out. There's over 15 gigabytes of this game's file size due to the 16K skyboxes with ludicrously expensive cameras that they spent so much time on, just to not have anywhere near the magic of the skies of old. Look at the sky in Forza Horizon 3, and then this one, and now look at what we have in Horizon 6. I don't think we should be going 100% for realism here. These are video games, and art style is just as important. I miss that character and almost fantasy feel that the old worlds had because of this. Car meets have returned, and they're very similar to Horizon 2. You pull into a car meet spot, you park up, and boom, you're in. This is really cool on paper, but one problem. There is genuinely no one doing them. I tried probably 10 times at different locations and different days, and, well, could maybe get 1 or 2 other people at maximum. That's it. I really wish they incentivized doing these, because right now there's not much reason to. Instead, there's also plentiful other spots on the map to park up and have impromptu meets, which is likely better in all honesty. Now for the big twist of this game, and something that I really commend. There's actually a pseudo second campaign that's exclusively tailored towards exploration. It rewards you for finding new regions, smashing mascots, doing Horizon stories, street racing, and I love this. It gives more traditional racing game fans a story career to work on, but those of you who want to fast track and just play these games casually for fun and exploration, a whole new way of enjoying these games. It's a huge win-win if you're asking me. This is also how you will unlock some new things to this game, such as treasure cars and the already known barn finds. Treasure cars are similar to barn finds, but a bit more challenging. You'll get a photo of where one is parked, and then using just word hints and no guidance on the map, you'll have to explore and use all your map knowledge to find them. I love this personally, and especially considering barn finds in this game are laughably easy. All you have to do is look for a driveway and you pull up on them. There's zero thought required, so having the treasure cars be a new twist on this formula is a very welcome addition. Houses have also been reworked into the Discovery Japan path. No longer can you just pull up and buy one. You've actually got to play the game first. And you know, they finally did something with them too. The garages for your cars can be customized, and I mean really customized. There's some really neat ones such as this Test Drive Unlimited 2 house replica, and you can even play some of your favorite cars to be showcased. You can't do anything with the actual house itself still, which I'd be more upset about if they didn't go as crazy as they did with the garages. On the same realm, there's the estate. Now, this is definitely for people more creative than me, but think of this as Events Lab but for your personal, well, estate. You can do whatever your mind can conjure up, and some of the things that I've seen people do with this is super rad. The last part of the Discovery Japan path I wanted to touch on were the Horizon stories. I've never liked Horizon stories. The dialogue is always so terribly forced, can't be in a crude way, and the gameplay is... oh boy. Now, they're better here, I'll admit that. And it certainly helps that the actual story part is more engaging since they've got people I follow in real life, such as Larry Chen. Was so glad to see he was making it into this game. I think his is pretty neat. you gotta work with him and take photographs to get onto a cover of a magazine. But again, you can take the worst photos known to man and still pass with flying colors. Another one that's built on building show cars for the festival it's pretty okay, at least you actually have to take care of the cars here. But the dialogue, the dialogue. I think we've really got to start hiring more people in the automotive sphere to go over these conversations because it is rough at times. I think that days trips with Mai are the most interesting and enjoyable ones here. Just driving along some of the most scenic parts of Horizon Japan, learning about important cars. Sometimes I wanted them to be longer and just let me enjoy the sound of my engine without her talking over me. It'd be nice to have maybe the expedition dump in a cutscene before the event with well-made cinematics. And then you just let me loose to drive without someone in my ear the whole time. I'll say though, a huge improvement over Horizon 5 is that you can't just cheese these anymore by just cutting across as the crow flies. You've actually got to follow the route. Finally. All in all, I think Horizon Japan is pretty fantastic. It makes an astounding first impression and is the true driving force behind what makes me keep coming back, keep exploring, and just spend more time driving cars and finding new things to love. And while not perfect, I think that feeling and desire to do more is the biggest compliment that I could give a Horizon map. Do you know just how big Forza Horizon has gotten now? This is a series that crosses the tens of millions of players. This is no small fry, and it hasn't been for a long time. Why do I say this? Well, there's a level of quality a game like this demands. And while I think that this game is launched far better than the last two Horizons, there is still a lot to say. I want to start off with just how great the optimization for this game is. I've been running this game hard for the last few weeks, and honestly, apart from the servers acting up, which I'll get to shortly, this game has been running like a top. Now, I've been reviewing Horizon on PC for the first time, so I'll leave my hardware on screen. But even pushing the graphics to near on max with ray tracing, I don't really have much to report apart from a lot of artifacting visually. And you know what, I give the Steam Deck version a shot for the hell of it, and I mean, for a modern 2026 huge open world, I'm impressed it even runs. Now, you're gonna have to lock the game to 30 and very low settings if you want an ounce of stability, and even then the frame timing is so rough it looks like EA's stock charts, but it works. Some general game impressions though, the menus are so much easier to navigate and less cluttered, that's for sure. The soundtrack is, well, it's always going to be subjective, but I'd say it's alright. I'm a big fan of baby metal here and the Gotcha radio having some of my favorite anime openings, such as the one from Mashle. That was a huge surprise. But there's this lingering feeling of, this game feels like it's trying to hide how messy it is behind the scenes. The crazy mix of high versus low quality assets, I mean, look how terribly cropped this BMW logo is. The super weird bugs, such as this one, if you paint the Ford Lightning, the game can delete your save. It really kinda screams spaghetti code behind the scenes. There's the color palette as well, being a bit confused on trying to paint the game on a realistic or a vibrant, eccentric look. It looks so good most of the time, but you catch it on the wrong scene and it looks straight up depressing at times. And then of course there's the car models, but I'll save that for the next bit. There's been a lot of server-side issues as well, not just with servers being down, that's to be expected on the launch of any big online game, but more importantly with game saves. I've temporarily lost my save file multiple times because the game's cloud-based save systems are finicky on the best of days. And I'm walking on eggshells every time I play just because I've got no idea if I'm going to turn my PC on one day and start from square one. And on those servers, this is the exact same proprietary Microsoft Save Cloud system that's existed since 12 years ago in Horizon 2. And to this day, Playground Games seems to be the only developer that I see run into these save-related problems with every single release. Seriously, over 4 years of development time in this game, and this is still what we end up with? Again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is a poorly made video game. Far from it, actually. I was just going over how much love was poured into creating this world. It's just that there is a level of consistency in quality that games a less than 1/10 of this budget and staff maintain, while also actually starting from the ground up. And hell, that may be what Forza needs. I'd be happy with a 5-year wait for Horizon 7 if we can go slow, give this franchise a truly new game engine, and start from the ground up. No, not like that. Before I keep going, no, this is not a sponsor ad, but I did want to do a little housekeeping. Now, I hate plugging myself, but I know there's so many of you who love these videos and want to keep them coming. So I wanted to drop a quick mention of my Patreon, where you can get a sneak peek at upcoming video projects, help keep me posting, and get your name featured at the end credits of my videos. I also love connecting with you all on platforms such as Backlogged, where you can give me a follow and see what I've been playing and reviewing. Links to both of these are in the description down below, and with that short intermission out of the way, thank you for making this far into the review, and let's get right back into things. If you know me well, then you'd know that I have, and always will, view the automobile as art. This is something that I've had to question more times than not when it's come to Forza in the last few years. I saw how passionate these teams were back on the Xbox 360, laser scanning every vehicle, hiring Top Gear producers to do voiceovers for Forza Vistas in Motorsport 4 and 5. And yet since that generation, it's been an up and down cycle of whether or not the teams behind Forza still view cars to the same level of passion and exhilaration for the culture, not just as before, but as should be for the most popular racing franchise of the current day. On one hand, and especially on first impression, Forza Horizon 6 is a car nerd's wet dream. Hop in Forza Vista and the attention to detail on these models are bang on drool-worthy. I saw myself countless times zooming in on the paintwork just to see how well modeled the flake is, and how the team captures paint in multiple sources of light. There's been new details in how these cars have been brought to life as well. Steering wheels and interior cameras now have far more rotation than the almost Fisher-Price-esque animations beforehand. An exhaust on cold start or differing climates will smoke from condensation, which aligns with how you rev the engine. Brakes now squeal as you approach a stop. The tire models have been totally reworked to look like actual rubber now, and feature, for the first time ever, proper tire wear as you drive and rack up miles on them. The fact that electric vehicles have a unique tachometer that shows output versus regen. These are all lovely changes, and I'm so glad to see the passion for capturing the essence of driving through to a screen still remains. At least, as long as you don't look too closely. Horizon 6 has a very noticeable duality in content that it deems new and important, and what can be simply lazily ported over from old games without a single glance. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look at the car models for this BMW X6M while I'm actually in game. The fender isn't even properly rounded off. And look how polygonal and almost misformed it is. Same goes for this 911 Turbo S. It's a bit off-putting to see some models held up high on a pedestal when others simply don't get the same level of care and attention. And it's peculiar too, this Pagani Zonda 5 is example here. What on earth is going on with these brake rotors? This is a dream car for many, an Italian masterclass that was likely ripped straight from Horizon 5 and then no one double-checked to make sure the model was good before shipping this game. It may be a bit cherry-picking of me to do this, but this is the #1 selling racing series of the past at least half a decade. There's a level of quality that games with budgets this high should strive for, and this just is not enough. Not the only point on this topic I'd like to bring up either. How about convertible tops? A huge feature from Horizon 5 that thankfully returns here, but not on everything. The all-new to Forza Mercedes SLC is a hardtop convertible, but Horizon 6 seems to have forgotten this, as it doesn't have a functional roof in this game. The animation for shifting is broken on some cars. This C8 Corvette is example, as the driver doesn't even touch the paddles. How about the Mark 8 Volkswagen Golf R, which had a broken tachometer in Forza Horizon 5, and it still has not been fixed with Horizon 6. Still not accurate. There's a multitude of oversights like this, and apart from oversights, a reminder in the back of your head that many of these car models are still 10, 15 years old. And this goes for a massive chunk of the car list, in turn making these cars that are legends to all of us feel like they shouldn't be loved as much as, well, they're older. This is something I don't exactly know how Forza is going to get past without doing a full intensive remodel like Gran Turismo did with Sport. And it's only going to get worse over time as technology and graphics advance, and the gap between old and new models continues to grow. Now that's not to say that they aren't remodeling, as they absolutely are, and I do give Playground and Turn 10 a massive applause for this. But there are so many that need remodels, and it's as if we're playing catch-up at this rate. The tale of execution of automotive art is one thing, but what about the selection of cars here, and, well, what exactly can you do with them? Well, let's get the ugly over with right away. We've had over 350 vehicles cut from Horizon 5 to 6. To put that in perspective, that's like removing Forza Horizon 1 and Forza Horizon 2's base car rosters combined. And while some of these will be due to valid licensing constraints such as the McLaren Senna, or some of them will be removed due to new models coming down the line, Even if we credit 50 or 100 cars due to valid reasons, which, even then, I'm gonna be honest, that's a stretch. This is criminally unacceptable. The trend of removing cars to add them over time in the future branded as new content has been a thing in Forza since Horizon 4 now, and it's been exposed time and time again as lazy ways to extend a player's lifespan of the game by forcing them to return for content they've already had in the last game. It is disgusting and it is shameful. Now I'll get back to that when I discuss the festival playlist, because while yes, that alone is bad, I think that this game does a lot of really good things with the 550 that remain. I want to start with just what did make it into the game. And first off, the Japanese car selection here is superb. I truly commended the inclusion not just of the expected GTRs and Supras and Soras and all that. Yeah, that's cool, that's nice. But more of what Japan also has to offer. The Japan taxis and a total oddball choice that I found myself in a really weird way falling for. The K cars such as the AZ1, and one of my all-time favorites, the Honda City 2. Hell, it even has the Moto Campo in the back. That's so cool, man. And hell, the Forza editions in this game are totally batshit. How about a V8 swap lifted 4-wheel drive BZ? That is so unbelievably stupid in the best way. Get me like 10 right now. The off-road Viper, which is piss poor to drive, but god is it cool with a gutted interior and chunky off-road tires and bumpers. There's countless of these, and honestly, I still haven't even found some of the nuttiest ones. I know there's a near 2,000 horsepower Miata somewhere and an F450 so lifted it's damn near got its own galaxy. It proves to me that we're not quite done with what Playground will let us do to our builds in the future, and that's very exciting. So yes, what did make it into the game is pretty damn fantastic. But this is Forza. This series has become infamous for what you can do with the cars, not necessarily just appreciating them as is. And that reputation is huge, and going into Horizon 6 where the location is Japan, you've got to go all out. I think they've made some good steps here, but likely not quite enough. The best way to summarize how Horizon 6 improves upon its older brothers is that it's a ton of small things that truly do add up, but nothing new and revolutionary. Let's start with customization. You can finally choose individual wheels for each axle and paint them independently as well. Hallelujah. Body kits and bumpers and accessories are a slight improvement. I'm more than over the moon that they've totally redesigned the Forza aero to not be the same old generic design since the Xbox 360. And on plenty of cars here, you'll find a new bumper, accessories for the roof, but not really enough for me to be impressed. On the side of painting and vinyls, over decades of asking, we can finally place stickers on windows. Underappreciated thing on my end here, I'd love that you can choose the texture and finish of standard paint swabs now. But I don't know if this is just me and my graphic settings, but the metallic shades always look a little too silvery and nowhere near as potent as the gloss finishes. I think customization is good here. I mean, this is Forza. I don't think we should be cloning other games just for the sake of homogenizing this genre, as that's an outlook I never want to see. But I think it's time for another big step forwards. And if you're asking me what that is, it's already been teased in this game. Interior customization. We can see in those Forza editions I mentioned earlier what this could look like. So it's time to polish this up and see it in future entries. That would be dope. To finish off on the cars of Horizon 6, I want to just zoom out on some of these details I've been so insistent on, and look at the package as a whole. How do they drive? How do they sound? Well, honestly, pretty great. I think the physics here are textbook Horizon. They'll make anyone look like a hero with a very low skill barrier of entry, while leaving plenty of headroom for those who want to seek every inch out of speed zones and time attacks. I do feel like the main difference from 5 to 6 is that the high-speed rear-end grip is far more consistent, and I found myself trusting the rear end of the car in a high-speed corner a lot more than in 5. There is also a little more rear-end play at low speeds, but I'm sure that's got nothing to do with the amount of drift roads here, huh? If there's one critique, it's not exclusive to this game specifically, but the brakes in Horizon don't instill me with an ounce of confidence. Horizon has always felt like I'm braking with a leaking master cylinder. You don't get much bite at all and end up having to over-brake in a way that feels inconsistent with the quartering abilities here. But aside from that, it's exactly what you expect, and that's a good thing. The final thing I do want to touch on in the realm of cars is a similar story with the sounds here. Generally, the cars sound fantastic, and especially due to the improved spatial audio technology, I've had a few moments where my ears more than had a great time. But let's be honest, showing is better than telling, isn't it? Arguably the most agreed upon major complaint about the last decade of Horizon has been the approach taken towards the careers and single-player campaigns that were, to say the very least, a major downgrade from the first 3 Horizons. The series went on a bit of a journey in the original 3 games, firstly starting off as a total rookie. Slowly you moved on to a Horizon promoter in the second game, and in the third, you were the festival boss, calling all of the shots and in charge of evolving and growing the festival to its highest highs. In the 4th and 5th game, who you were was never really fully explained. The story was so watered down, you seemed to be a vessel for which the game to conform around and let you play as you wished. There is an element of the choose-your-own-adventure sandbox style that I appreciate, but as a whole, this approach undeniably is a very lazy and aimless way of handling a career in a racing game. Just chucking the player into the world, tossing some events about the place, and just saying, have fun, man. Hell, Horizon 4 didn't even have an ending, so you were just stuck in a perpetual Horizon adventure. Horizon 6 promised us an entirely new approach, a spiritual return to form with actual progression. The return of fan-requested throwbacks like functional wristbands. And you know, apart from a few personal gripes that I have to say, Playground, you really did a pretty good job with this one. To really dissect this campaign, I'm going to start all the way from the beginning and work my way to the end. Starting with the opening minutes and prologue with, well, let's be honest, has a Horizon game ever had a bad prologue? These are always when the engine gets pumped to the absolute max. AI behavior is strictly programmed to show off the most streamlined and cinematic flair that these games can offer. And you know, I'm a sucker for it every time. This one is particularly great and gives you a great little teaser and taste of all the sorts of different regions of Japan you'll have the pleasure of exploring. Oh, and the best part? This is the very first Horizon game that lets you go on and replay this prologue at any time. Thank you, Playground. However, as you go through, you aren't actually playing as yourself, the player, but Horizon members. And you yourself are a tourist to Japan watching the Horizon Festival on TV who's got to qualify for it. Now, I don't think that anyone expected the choose-your-own protagonist to disappear, but there's still absolutely nothing creative done with them. It's the same it's been since Horizon 3 and 4 virtually, with still a soulless husk for which to self-insert and choose a whole identity and voice for. Only for them to have, 3 lines of dialogue in the whole game? And yes, to bother the incel community out there, there is still a pronoun selection. It is 2026. If this single 3-second option for what other people can choose for their own avatars is what makes you avoid this game, it's time to look in the mirror and see who the real snowflake is. Tangent aside, so glad that the return of a rookie with a lucky shot at the big show is back. It makes the journey truly mean something. Hell, you'll even be playing for about an hour before you get your first wristband. And that on its own is a unique event. Hell, there's even familiar faces in it for those who've played the original. Ramona even has a modern raptor. Really nice little touch. This has been so dearly missed in Horizon games. And the best part about it is that feeling of growth doesn't stop there. I want to touch on the starter cars as well here, as it's been a controversial topic in the recent games. There's 6 starter cars in this game. You get a pick out of 3 at the very start, and another 3 shortly thereon after. The cars themselves are great, more basic entries which will leave you wanting for more and make extra speed that much more satisfying. But the choice element is totally moot when you realize that you'll automatically get all 6 of them no matter what you pick. It's kind of a necessary evil because you do get a wide variety of event races to start from, so you need different vehicles to tackle them, but why give us the option and illusion of choice if you're not going to actually have agency? Something else I wanted to discuss only briefly because, well, I don't see this changing ever, is the tone of this game. Modern Horizon still continues its perfect, almost clinical friendliness and avoidance of danger, anger, competition. This is still very much a racer focused on inclusivity more than anything. And this is frustrating because, well, when this started back in Horizon 3, it kind of made sense as, you're a boss, you don't really have that sense of competition in this narrative. But in a game like Horizon 6, when the gameplay is so focused on you having to work your way up from nothing, it doesn't make any sense. I know that this is done for Game Pass, and I know it's done to be as available to as young of an audience as possible. That doesn't mean I gotta like it. From there on out, the world of Japan slowly opens up with what to do next. And, okay, I'm sorry, I cannot be the only one who finds this sprite of Mai absolutely hilarious every time it shows up. Thankfully, my satisfaction only really grew from this point onwards, as, guess what? Not only does this map get shown to you piece by piece, gradually letting you see more as you progress throughout the career here, but the same is done with what you get to drive. I am so happy to report that the approach Horizon 4 and 5 took to race events, where you could just pull up to a point in the map, build whatever you wanted, and race with X-Class cars at the beginning, is totally gone now. In its place, you have something very similar to the original Forza Horizon, where the events are all predetermined by Playground Games. You have to work around those restrictions and use all of your garage, not just as if you were racing Jesus. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as the variety here can really sometimes be lacking. I hope you like rally and cross-country events, because that is the vast majority of what you're going to be doing in Horizon 6. Look, I get it. This map is superb, and it's very well designed for a lot of off-roading. But let's be honest, Horizon was never designed to be a rally game, and the cross-country and rally format hasn't evolved virtually at all since their inception in Horizon 2. It may also be a personal preference thing, because I play these games for the on-road element, which is handled eons better, but I think that the ratio of on to off-road driving is far too skewed in the wrong direction. If this were, say, 70% on-road, 30% off-road, I think that would be a lovely way to balance this. And to coincide with that, allow us to explore different eras of vehicle in those races. As right now, especially for off-road events, it seems as if the playground-determined events all seem to be A or B class cross-country. So you end up only using 1 or 2 cars for your 20 to 30 career run in off-road events. Don't get me started as well how there's virtually no races at all that take place in Tokyo. Isn't that the whole point? And when you start to get close to the endgame, there really isn't many, if any, events in faster vehicles. I really would have liked to see you start slow and earn that speed, and then have endgame races in S2 or R class. But instead, it's mostly just B, A, and the occasional S1 class event from start to finish. Aside from standard race style events, something that I am a huge fan of is time attack. This is super cool. They've built tracks into the maps just like in the old Test Drive Unlimited games. But instead of just kinda being there taking up space, they're active and personal battlegrounds for you to set personal bests and earn points for the campaign, or even just hop on for fun. And the best part for me is there is absolutely no loading. It's just hop on and hop off. Fantastic addition, that. The race-to-race gameplay in Horizon 6 is, well, let's be honest, it is a Forza Horizon. The racing in these games has never been really more than a 6 or a 7 out of 10 experience in the best of games. God damn it, I just realized what I said. This isn't anything new to Horizon 6 or even 4 or 5. The series is always fall victim to drivatars being uninspired, track layouts that are fine, and that's it. It's fine. If you wanted exciting arcade racing, you'd play Burnout or Need for Speed. This has never really been the series for that. Although I will say that now that it is one of the most popular, if not the most popular racing series, it doesn't really have that excuse anymore. It's really time to level up. But what I do find funny is the insane course correct for this game's AI drivatars, who, good lord, they are so much faster and more aggressive than ever before. So much so that there has been memes about certain drivatars creeping into damn near every facet of this industry. Hell, even Capcom's got into the joke with Diana from Pragmata. If there's a huge thing that I'd like to see the series improve on in the future, is making me excited to race in these games. It's become the case that you play Horizon to explore, to build, to drive with friends, but not to race. And I firmly believe that it's the race-to-race gameplay that hurts this series here. Only one real event style, a serious lack of creativity in track design, and basic road racing that feels like game's 20 years old at this rate. There's a lot to love about this game, and this issue isn't something that is exclusive to Horizon 6, but it is so long past overdue for some serious innovation from Playground and the remainder of Turn 10 to be doing racing games for over 2 decades and still be this rudimentary at it. Back to the things that I like. Yeah, wristbands are back and just as functional as before, though I really like how they're unlocked in this game. When you pick up a wristband, you'll have a target of events that you'll have to complete before unlocking a special event to obtain your next one. These special events are split between Horizon Rush and Horizon Showcase events. Think of Rush events as mini showcases. And you know what, they're pretty damn cool at that. Some having you race an entire rocket launch or blast through the docks jumping through shipping containers. And yeah, you can do them in co-op, which is another whole element of fun. Showcases are the big boys. Funnily enough, there's only 2 here. I assume this was done to take a quality over quantity approach, which I'm not at all against since we have Rush events now. The showcases are, well, they're awesome. Especially the Chaser Zero showcase. I mean, pitting you against a whole-ass giant Gundam-style mech who leaps hundreds of feet in the air, through water, across the Tokyo skies, under bridges. This might be my new favorite showcase in this series. At the very least top 3 due to the creativity and how wacky this is. I truly love this one. The second showcase is, it's pretty good. I definitely think that putting the Chaser Zero one in there before really deflated a lot of the hype for this one. It's totally fine racing a 911 Dakar against stunt planes, but it's not all that original compared to series past. And as a side note to this, I really love that the cars that you use for these showcases get gifted to you afterwards and are exclusively obtained through these showcases or rush events. And once you get your new wristband through these events, congrats! The cycle continues until you eventually reach Legend Island, which is the final reward for completion. And let me tell you, this is not all sunshine and rainbows. You will have to play almost everything that the game has to offer to unlock this finale. Best almost every PR stunt with high stars. Finish first on pretty much every race. This is not for beginners and honestly a lot of playtime, and I really enjoy that. Now this is endgame spoilers here, so I'll put a timestamp to skip all past this. The final event in this game is a very interesting change of pace to, well, everything previously. It feels like a final love letter to Horizon, as if this was the end of the series almost. Slowly racing through and along previous members of each Horizon beforehand, in each game's respective iconic vehicle. It's a Horizon victory lap, and honestly a really cool one at that. Though I did still have a very strong desire for that big, just one-on-one final race with a fat cash payout at the end. Legend Island though, that big reward for finishing the game only for exclusive members. Kinda totally blows, I'm gonna be so honest. It feels like a watered down little island with a racetrack and not much else. It would be really cool to have an exclusive player house or something here to rub in the face of your friends who haven't finished the game yet. But alas, nothing of the sort. And without any real reward to feel satisfied with, the conclusion to this Horizon campaign is fine, but it certainly leaves a lot to be desired. And speaking of payouts, a huge criticism I've had over the last 2 Horizons being how much gets thrown at you throughout the campaign. So how is 6? Well, you certainly get gifted cars like they grow on trees from the discovery menus, so if you don't like that, please don't open these until endgame. But in terms of credits, now I didn't spend all that much during my playthrough to see how much the game gave me, and I finished the game with right around 12 million credits. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but are we forgetting Forza Horizon 1's final reward is $10 million, on top of what you went through the campaign? This is a huge step in the right direction. Hell, even at the end of this game, I still had to be choosy about what I spend my hard-earned money on. Oh, and wheel spins? Well, I recorded a clip of about 20 wheel spins in a row, and well, I'll let it speak for itself. The rewards are very similar to that of Horizon 2, where most of the time, you're really not going to be getting all that much. There's some other smaller things to note as well, such as how houses are now tied to your exploration level, not just if you find them on the map. Same goes for barn finds, and hey, street racing is now totally detached from the festival. Only took them like 2 whole games to realize that that was a stupid concept. Hell, it even makes more sense now since street racing doesn't reward your Horizon career at all, instead, strictly just to discover one. I've got my critiques overall, yes, about how, yeah, there is still somewhat of a checklist, though far less in your face this time. And how characters still don't seem to matter much in this game at all. There's so many people in this Horizon Festival, and it still feels like these games try to remove a lot of the human element. Hey, at least it's not straight up insensitive with how Horizon Mexico portrayed the language and people of Mexico. Horizon Japan seems to at least smartened up and stopped trying to mix languages to sound nouveau and chic. But in the end, I cannot express just how thankful I am for this. In the modern day, with how mainstream Horizon has become, the fact that we have a career you gotta work for, and hey, look how positive the reception of this game has been. The people have spoken, and we are tired of cookie-cutter sandbox Horizons. These are video games, and if you want that sandbox exploration experience, well, they've handled that as well with the Discover Japan career that I mentioned in the map segment. This is basically exactly what I've asked for in previous critiques of modern Horizons, and honestly, probably the best way to satisfy all crowds in a game that's designed to satisfy tens of millions of players across its lifespan. The first week of this game was utterly tremendous, and despite my little qualms, I was truly falling for this game. So then why am I saying just the first week? Well, my friend, that would be because there was zero live service and festival playlists to ruin the fun. It always reminds me of Horizon games of old during the first week, where they put their best foot forwards, and the fun of the games was in the discovery and the player agency to play how you wanted to. And I kept my mind open, as it's unrealistic of me to assume that the festival playlist will be removed in its entirety. But maybe, just maybe, they would listen to the single largest pain point in criticism of the last 2 games. But no, the festival playlist is back in all of its disgustingly anti-consumer, anti-player glory. And you know what? It hasn't even been reworked to be more engaging or fun to play. It's the same damn thing it's been since Horizon 4 8 years ago. You know what's killing your player base's enjoyment of your game's playground and gets them to complain so vocally once it's been a few months, let alone years? The fact that you have to return to the exact same game, do the exact same boring event cycles every single week for going on 8 years now. And add insult to injury, you know what the reward is for doing that? The exact same content that you cut from the last game. And they aren't even subtle about it this time. You know the reward for sinking hours and hours into Horizon 6's first playlist to get 120 points? The Nissan 370Z, which A, already is a cooler variant in game, B, has been in the series for 14 years without failure on launch, and C, doesn't even have anything new like a new model. Yes, there's the Mastiff UI, and I'm not really going to attest against that. It's been a legitimate remodel, and it's a return from the old Motorsport games. That's acceptable. I'm alright with that. But it doesn't get any better looking at some of the other rewards. The Honda CRX and R33 Skyline, the STI S209, Arctic Trucks Land Cruiser, and the Evo 9 are all vehicles from Horizon 5 cut so that you could come back and grind for them in the playlist. And yes, I will give them some credit. Some of these, but not all of them, are getting remodels. But it seems like such a disjointed and incoherent way of making that change. Because if that was the case, why pick and choose what to and not to remodel? Maybe I'd let this slide a little more if they started off right from the bat with cool cars. But no, you know who does get the cool stuff? The people who pay extra for the car packs and the DLC. They're the only ones who get highly requested vehicles, such as the Koenigsegg Chimera, the GR Corolla, the Audi R8 GT, and the FD2 Civic Type R. It feels almost classist, and a middle finger to those who didn't want to pay for the most expensive Ultimate Edition ever in a Forza game, by the way. That, oh, you paid for the game? That's cool. Your reward is virtually nothing worth playing for. Yes, I'm angry, and I'm not done yet. You know these cars are going to be FOMO'd once again, even though they keep dodging the question every time we ask them on streams or in Q&As. Which only to me says that they're not doing what people are going to be happy with, considering how loud and proud they've been about everything else they've done that we asked for. That alone is awful. FOMO sucks in every way, but I want you to consider the players that buy this game later down the line, or those who buy the game on PS5 when that version comes out. Well, too bad so sad, guys. You miss out on everything that happened beforehand, just because you didn't dedicate your wallet to Microsoft on day one. And look, I don't want to be someone who just complains endlessly, but I'm so vehement about this because I am not the only one. And if you want to see a change here too, I ask of you to please share this video as much as you can to start a chain reaction going. Your voice matters as much as your wallet. And sitting complacently, when you hate this just as much as I do, tells Playground they're fine to trample all over you, waving old content that you gotta get a part-time job playing Forza Horizon 6 just to obtain. And hell here, I'll even propose a solution that I can guarantee won't just be more rewarding for us the players, but provide a stronger community resurgence. My improvement would be to distance the festival playlist from, instead of new rewards every week, do it every couple of months, but make it a huge event. 10, 20 cars to obtain, a theme that you can spend way more time organizing and prepare assets for to make it feel like a DLC, even if it's just a free update every few months. It'll allow people to not grow tired and grow resentment for the game just because they have no choice but to play it all the time. And in the time between months, they can come back on their own time to cruise, to build cars, and play on their own accord without feeling forced to. I cannot see the festival playlist ever going away, to be fair, and as much as I'd like that, it'll never happen. Which is why instead of complaining with no end in sight, I'm sharing options. Not because I hate this game, but because I want to love it. And in its current state, the live servicification of Horizon, I truly cannot say with a full heart that I love this game. It is that predatory and creatively bankrupt. And to segue into another aspect of this game's online focus, you all know that I've never really been that into online racing. so I might not be the best person to cover that. And that is precisely why I've got my good friend, Fastminer07, to do it for me. Take it away, good sir.
The multiplayer was one aspect of the game I had a particular interest in. Coming from the competitive scene of the last 2 games, the online races were where I spent most of my time in the games, at least when they worked, that is. The general structure of the online is still very much a direct continuation of what FH5 had, with the only new modes being a dedicated Toge race mode to pair with its single-player counterpart, and my favorite new addition, spec racing. This basically just consists of a standard 3-race championship, but with all the drivers in the same stock build. This generally leads to cleaner and more competitive racing, although I would argue that the number of tracks paired with the tendency to lean more towards road racing means it can get a little repetitive course-wise. Despite that, the overall experience is one of the best I've seen in the recent series. It's not perfect, I have had the occasional netcode issue, and I noticed the servers were more than a little overloaded on launch day, but compared to how Horizon 5 launched, this was far and away the better experience. One thing that has not remotely changed is how people drive in this game. It's your standard Forza fare, as we all should come to expect and loathe by this point. Do I think Forza could do something about this? I mean, probably. They implemented a safety rating into their motorsport series, and the only reason that didn't catch on is because by the time you can actually get your rating settled in, no one was playing that shit anymore. While here, population is the least of your concerns, but I'm also not 100% sure that would solve some of the game's issues. Honestly, and I know some comp people aren't gonna like what I'm about to suggest, but one thing I would make would be a separate mode like spec racing that's just ghosted driving. But how's that any different from doing Rivals, you might ask? Simple. You ever seen someone set their fastest lap first time in Rivals? Being ghosted doesn't change the fact that this is still a live, single attempt event. You wouldn't say the online rallies from something like Dirt 3 aren't races, because that's just a staggered time trial. Yeah, and you're racing against other players' times with live updates and feedback based on where they are. In a literal sense, you're not incorrect, but in a figurative sense, these two ideas feel very different. Something that did disappoint me from the new multiplayer was the complete removal of the infection and other related game modes. These added a lot of levity and variety to the online experience, which now goes to game modes like the Eliminator from FH4 and Hide and Seek from FH5. And while those can be fun, they lack the immediacy and group building aspects that I enjoyed from the modes like King and Flag Rush. It's not a make or break feature, but I'm always a little annoyed to see something else I remember liking from my entry point into the series, Horizon 1, taken away unnecessarily. We need to bring back the GOAT, cat and mouse. I also enjoyed things like the PvP Festival playlist events and online Rivals leaderboards, including the new time attack feature that I went back and forth with a couple friends on, but for the most part, these aren't really all that different from what we had in FH4 or even really FH5, so I don't have all that much more to say.
There's something special that I wanted to do with this video, and especially due to the scale of this game and how rare an opportunity like this is, to be able to give the development team feedback right away, just as the next game is starting its pre-production window, so it's when our voices have the most chance at being heard. And that special thing that I wanted to do was get feedback from all of you, to help shape the future entries for the better. I made a community post asking for what you'd like to see done with the future updates and expansions to Horizon 6 and for Horizon 7. And without further ado, here are the most common things that I saw requested from all of you. It isn't even close as to what the #1 most requested thing was. And it's the comments that stated a desire to get rid of the overtly dumbed down, sterile, and walking on eggshells writing and tone that is all over these games. It's exactly as I mentioned in my own criticisms of the presentation of this game. It makes me feel like a spoilt child who gets everything handed to them and never has to work a day in their life. The desire to earn that respect and accolades throughout progression and story advancement is what we're asking for. And that truly is not a big ask at all, guys. We can have family-friendly writing without being terrible. Hell, that's what Disney and Pixar built empires over. It's a half-baked excuse that doesn't even hold up for the people it's so-called designed for. and it's high time we change this. To add another element of this, another one that I saw quite often is the desire for a real antagonist or rivals. There's no competition in this racing game. It's our world to venture through and conquer, but there's no one stopping us. No true motivation to wipe a mug's smile off someone's face like for Darius Flint in the original Horizon. It's textbook storytelling. You have a protagonist, you need an antagonist. And I'm not talking a narrative masterclass like Ocelot, Sephiroth, Organization 13, hell, even a simpler one such as Officer Tenpenny. Just something to give these games a proper narrative. The second most popular criticism, and something I wholeheartedly agree with, is a total from the ground up rework of Drivatars, or to ditch them in their entirety for the sake of traditional AI. I mean, hell, they've been identical since their inception in Motorsport 5, well over 10 years ago. And that promise of replicating your friend's driving habit seemed to be straight up lost and misconstrued, as anyone with a serious amount of hours racing in these games knows that to be far from accurate. Even with that aside, they are so poorly done. I mean, this is a game funded by Microsoft, one of the companies that pushes for artificial intelligence the most. So to have some of the worst performing, worst programmed, so bad it's become a giant meme to laugh at. Which, by the way, it's been played off by Forza themselves as funny, which, yeah, sure, the Bowie Knife 99 thing is funny at first, but it goes volumes to say just how poorly made the AI that you race against in these games are. We really need to do better when indie games are demolishing Playground at this. Another one that I saw, not just in my comments, but through the community, is the disappointment and lack of customization within Horizon 6. This is something that I personally believe that they're working on for the next game, but it doesn't hurt to mention. The wheel models being out of date. The fact that you can't choose between multiple styles of Forza Aero even though multiple styles already exist for different types of vehicle. Also, the reliance on aftermarket brands when, in all honesty, you've got creative artists at this studio. You could just make parts under the guise of the Forza brand. Either way, aftermarket brands or in-house, it's high time we get a full-on revamp on the upgrades, and customization that's remained virtually unchanged since Horizon 2 and 3. When it comes to the online multiplayer, ramming and bad driving still goes unpenalized a lot of the time. A revamp and cleanup of how online toxic driving is in need for sure. But in addition, the return of Playground games. Personally, not that affected or bothered by this, but it's the removal of content that is a removal of content. There's no excuse for this, especially due to how online focused this series is, and it's time for it to come back. To no one's surprise, the presence of FOMO in the toxic live service was another one discussed heavily. Look, I just went over this in more detail, so I'm not going to go on another rant. But the point of bringing this up again here is to show that it is not just a me thing. The community is sick and tired of being used as statistics to bolster concurrent player numbers and show the big dogs at Microsoft just how many people keep coming back. It must be because the game is so good. No, it's because they have no choice, because it's the only way to get all the game has to offer. And actively goes against the mantra of Modern Horizon, by the way, where these worlds are meant to be yours for the taking. I'm going to do a few other smaller rapid-fire ones now, being the over-reliance on cross-country and off-road racing. I'm absolutely with everyone on this. There are so many beautiful stretches of road here, and most of the game is spent on trails, mountains, dirt paths, and through fields. We have the entirety of Tokyo to work with, and I likely could count on one hand the amount of races in it. To branch off of that, a strong push for street-focused expansions. Just as in Horizon 5, the base game has way too much of an off-road focus. If we repeat 2 games in a row where we get an off-road style expansion in an already off-road focused game, that's just not a very good look now, is it? To go along with the map expansions, making them, instead of separate areas with a loading screen, just tacking them onto and expanding the existing map. Using a bridge as an invisible loading screen would be a great way to handle this. And add on to this giant evolving open world that we already love. Something else regarding the campaign, while I think that split campaigns were an excellent approach in this game, it still needs some work to be a little more varied and show off an even better sense of progression, as plenty of others seem to feel that we're just quite not there yet. And hey, that's all just from one community post. By no means do I want that to be the only form of discussion. I'd love to see more from all of you about the game and advice for the next one on this video. And as we reach the end of your personal critiques, I want to move on to my final thoughts on Forza Horizon 6. As I'm sure you can tell by now, we've still got a long ways to go to reach the perfect Horizon game. But that doesn't mean that I don't think Horizon 6 shouldn't be commended. And when I look at everything as a whole, not going piece by piece, and just think about how this game makes me feel, I firmly believe and will stand by the fact that this is very easily the best Forza Horizon in 10 years since Horizon 3. The campaign being so far and away a huge improvement from the overtly sandbox-like, overflowing with cash and rewards, while also remaining totally aimless careers that really hit the series' lows in Horizon 4 and 5. This map, my god this map. It's really hard for me to tell yet where exactly I'd place it on my favorite Horizon maps ever, but it's at the absolute least top 3. The fact that it isn't so full of aimless fields, but takes its time to fill up so much of the landscapes here, with scenic viewpoints, and made me feel like I did when I was a teenager booting up Horizon 2 again. Yes, I have my qualms about the inconsistent attention to detail, and how truly horrible the online live service is handled with this game. I undeniably had a blast over time in my first 50 hours with this game. It's so hard to give these games a proper verdict as they change so much over the coming years, but at the very least, in the first month here, my impressions, for the most part, are strong. But there is a lot that needs to be done to truly prove that Horizon is really at its peak, and how they evolve past this. Something that was hitting me as I was really getting deep into and finishing this game was a wave of slight concern regarding, well, what happens next? Now yeah, I still maintain this is the best Horizon in 10 years. But this also seems to have been the panic mode Horizon, finally doing Japan to gain back the audience that didn't really enjoy 5 as much as they had hoped. Listening to so much fan feedback. But what does that leave them to do for the next game? Well, I'm gonna give Playground more credit here than I'd usually do so, because now that the easy one is out of the way, it's all up to their own merit to make the next Horizon outstanding through their own creativity and skill set. I'd love to see a Horizon in Norway, or going back to new countries in Europe, or my ultimate wish for my home country, Canada. But what I'd like them to do, more than anything, is to ride out Horizon 6 for a long time. Now you might be saying, that's ridiculous, but hear me out. Use the already great foundation here to keep people coming back and do maybe 3 expansions this time. All the while dedicating that extra time to truly, genuinely getting rid of the old bones which this series is still grafted on top of. As great as Horizon 6 is, it's a fantastic evolution of what modern racing games are, but it's far from revolutionary. And to really set Forza on top of the racing game podium, I need to see that they can still revolutionize this genre, while also keeping that spirit and magic of Horizon that's so deeply loved. And I doubt this will change, but god, it would be nice to see different tones explored in this series. It's been basically 4 straight games of the neutered, family-friendly tourist energy, which while, yes, has mass marketability, has almost zero appeal to anyone over the age of 10. And guess who your most loyal player base and the ones who make up that playtime are? Certainly not who that watered-down approach appeals to. And besides that, family-friendly is not an excuse for bad writing. As I said before, you can fit good dialogue, plots that make sense, and characters who feel less like walking mouthpieces for corporate exploration and happy fun times. Racing vehicles is by its very definition not family-friendly. There's contact, danger, risk, and competition. Hell, even the #1 racing game that has a more child-friendly audience, Mario Kart, understands this better than Forza does, it seems. I'm a firm believer in change, and while for the most part I'm very happy with what Horizon 6 has done with the nameplate, we have still got a ways to go in chasing the perfect Horizon. The future of this franchise still excites me, and I've got a lot more faith since this game is a tremendous step forwards. But Playground, don't let this hit allow you to rest on your laurels. There is still very evidently a great team over there, and this game proves that. Now let's get cooking on the next generation of what Horizon means. There's a whole new generation of Xbox coming, and this is the #1 title to take advantage of that. But until that time comes, Horizon 6 is a satisfying step in the right direction. It just isn't one that I can say with my full chest is the best that it can possibly be.
Don't eat that shit like that. Bro, come on, son. I fucking hate people like you, son. Why the fuck would you eat it like that, bro? It has fucking shit.